Manx Radio Sport.
A warm welcome to listeners on Manx Radio AM 1368. Once again, welcome to Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio, your comprehensive roundup of the sporting action in football, rugby and hockey on the Isle of Man and beyond. Throughout today, Saturday the 19th of October. Without further ado, let's get straight down to business and bring you the classified sporting results for the Isle of Man. Today, Saturday the 19th of October 2024. And we start with football. The Canada Life Men's Premier League. Foxdale 5, St George's 1. Russian United 0, Ayr United 7. St Mary's 3, Onken 3. Moran 1, Laxey 3. St John's United 3, Ramsey 2. Union Mills 3, Peel 5. Ardern and Druggan Limited Division 2. Castletown 12, Maloo 1. Colby 10, Governors Athletic 3. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 2, Douglas Royal 2. Douglas and District 2, Pulrose United 4. In Canada Life Combination 1, St George's vs Foxdale awarded as an away walkover to Foxdale, St George's unable to field a team. Ayr United vs Russian United awaiting result. Onken 2, St Mary's 1. Laxey vs Moran awaiting result. Ramsey vs St John's United awaiting a result. And Peel vs Union Mills awaiting result. Ardern and Druggan Limited Combination 2. Douglas High School Old Boys vs Douglas Athletic awaiting result. Governors Athletic 3, Colby 5. Douglas Royal vs Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys awaiting result. Pulrose United vs Douglas and District awaiting result. Gyms 2, Michael United 3. The NWCFL Premier Division. Longridge Town 1, FC Isle of Man 3. Turning now to rugby. The Regional 2 Northwest. Douglas 37, Altrincham Kersal 14. Counties 3 ADM Lancashire Cheshire. Fleetwood 64, Vagabonds 5. Women's NC2 North-South Division. Winnington Park 43, Vagabonds Ladies 32. And in an on-island friendly, Douglas Casuals 14, Southern Nomads 42. Turning now to Isle of Man hockey. The Mixed Premier League. Harlequins A 6, Vikings B 3. Backers B 3, Valkyries B 0. Castletown Celts 0, Backers A 5. Valkyries A 1, Vikings A 2. In Mixed Division 1, Backers C 3, Valkyries C 3. Ramsey A 8, Vikings D 1. Vikings C 1, Castletown Southerners 2. In Mixed Division 2, Backers Colts 8, Castletown Cushags 0. Castletown Camags 7, Ramsey Ravens 2. Harlequins B 6, Valkyries D 0. In Mixed Division 3, Harlequins C 1, Backers D 3. Backers Mixed Bucks 1, Ramsey Rookies 3. Castletown Carrick 1, Vikings E 1. In the Mixed Under-15s League, Valkyries 6, Harlequins 3. Backers vs Ramsey awaiting result. And Vikings 0, Castletown Sharks 4. Those are your classified sporting results for football, rugby and hockey on the Isle of Man for Saturday the 19th of October 2024. And if you heard a few missing results there, we are still waiting on a couple to make their way through in the likes of football and hockey. If you do have any details, please do send them in either via text or via WhatsApp to 166 177. We'd love to hear from you. Well, a busy day in football, as always. Just as we get another result on the way through, we can give you a couple of details of that in just a moment. It regards the Combination 1 match between Peel and Union Mills. But before we get to that, we're going to bring ourselves to Tony Mepham. Tony, very good evening.
Good evening, Rob. As we say, we've got away with it, haven't we, with the weather? We looked at it last night, and today it's been absolutely perfect and near enough a full programme.
Well, just looking at the results here, it looks like we've just had a message in. Thank you very much for letting us know. In Canada Life Combination 1, Peel 7, Union Mills 1. 2 goals apiece for Scott Horn and Sean Brown, and then goals for Joe Crookall, Toby Little and George Taylor. From the penalty spot, Dylan Campbell on the score sheet for Union Mills there. So that result in Canada Life Combination 1, Peel 7, Union Mills 1. Thank you very much for those details. Turning to the Canada Life Men's Premier League, let's take a look at the matches that took place today. We'll start chronologically this time. Why not, Tony? We'll start with the early kick-off at 1:45, which saw St Mary's pitted against Onken. Two teams looking, I suppose, slightly different objectives over the weekend and maybe over the next couple of weeks. But what a cracker those who made their way to the bowl for the early kick-off must have been treated to. 6 goals and 3 apiece. St Mary's 3, Onken 3.
And I think on this one here, it was just one of those days for Joe Burkus, because Joe Burkus got a hat-trick. Yes, 2 from the penalty spot, but it doesn't matter, they all count. 1 from outfield, but Josh Kenyock got 2 of the goals for Onken, and Tom Lancaster on the score sheet once again for them, and getting the other one. So a tight game. I think that's a fair point for Onken. And, they've much improved, and St Mary's disappointed that they've dropped 2 valuable points to stay in touch at the top of the table for this Railway Cup competition that's coming up not too long now, another month. Indeed,
the race hotting up definitely for those top 4 places going towards the festive period, if you like, where the Railway Cup final is traditionally held. Turning now attention to Foxdale versus St George's. This initially was due to be played at Billygoat Park, but as Tony confirmed on Friday Sport Preview last night, a switch of venue, maybe just with an eye on the inclement weather. There was a few hours of it overnight as well, so maybe just in anticipation of that. And of course, there's St George's combination side not in action. We'll get to that in a moment. But this switch to St George's at Glen Crutchy Road, it made no difference to Foxdale. They've beaten St George's by 5 goals to 1.
Yeah, Foxdale are lethal in front, Rob, aren't they? And when you look at the goal scorers in a minute, you can see why, because they've all had a dab at it today. But we haven't got St George's goal scorer. If you could text us through, please, 166 177. But for Foxdale, Liam Cannon got 1. Lee Gale back in the squad. He got a couple of goals. Jay Chatwood on the score sheet. And Player of the Month, Jason Charmer got the other one. So important result that for Foxdale. Helps their goal difference, helps their points tally, and they go on the charge again.
Especially with, if you look at some of the teams around them, just starting to pick up points and maybe just ask a few more questions at the moment, Tony.
Well, they certainly are, and when you look at Ayr United as well, I've done the league tables. We can just see where Foxdale are now. They've played 9 games, so there's sort of 1 more than the 3 teams above them, but puts them on 18 points. That's equal with Corinthians. But top of the table is Ayr United. They're on 22 now. Moving into second place is Peel. And then, as we say, we've got 3 teams on 18. Corinthians just on goal difference. And then we've got Foxdale and Laxey in there as well. So it's all sort of nip and tuck for that top 4 berth, if you like, league position spot for the Railway Cup. So still a few games to go. But it's taking shape.
Just quickly before we continue, the Canada Life Men's Premier League just had another result from Ardern and Drugan Limited Combination 2 come in. Thank you very much for letting us know that. It finished there. Pulrose United 2, Douglas and District 2. No details on scorers, but thank you very much indeed for sending through that scoreline as well. So the spoils shared between Pulrose United and Douglas and District in Ardern and Drugan Limited Combination 2. Turning to one of the longest journeys, or if not the longest journey, in the Isle of Man footballing leagues. Russian United hosting Ayr United. Russian United, it's again been a tough start to the season for them. Russian United, of course, very high standards as a club over the years gone by, up against an Ayr United team defending champions and still pushing towards the top. They came into this game still as the only undefeated side in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, and they've stayed that way as well. And they've done it in style today, Tony, down south at Croytline. Ayr United beating Russian United by 7 goals to 0. The Ayr United juggernaut just seems to roll on at the moment.
It certainly does, and that drive home back down south is going to be a long one, isn't it? After conceding 7 goals. And start of the show today was Sean Kelly. He got 4. Harry Best got his name on the score sheet. Cameron Torr and Chris Duggan. So Ayr United just pulling away a little bit, because when you look at Peel, they've played 8 games for 19 points. And then when you look at Ayr United, have played 8 games for 22. So a little bit of a gap, but it's not only that. It's the amount of goals that they're scoring, Rob. It's pretty impressive, isn't it, for Ayr United, and Sean Kelly with another 4.
No, it's always going to be on paper at the very least, a tough test for Russian United today, but still just not quite clicking into place at the moment for them.
No, it is, and it is a bit of struggle. And when you look at the team that they've got out there, they've still got plenty of good quality players in there, but can't score many goals. That's a big problem for them. And today they couldn't defend as well, which I'm sure that's something Andrew Moody will want to work on. But when you come across A United, and certainly in the lethal form that they're in at the moment, it's going to be tough to get anything out of them.
Indeed. Well, elsewhere, Old Church Road, and Tony, this is the game that you were covering for Saturday Live today between Marown and Laxey. Marown came into this on the back of 7 defeats from their opening 7 games, and up against the Laxey team who in the last couple of weeks have just started to creep right back into contention for those Railway Cup spots that we keep speaking about, with those teams toward those areas really keeping an eye on those now and looking to cement themselves a place. Marown, it's... Unfortunately, it doesn't get any easier for them, but a very respectable scoreline, it must be said, up against Laxey side. Marown 1, Laxey 3. Tell us the story of this one.
They battled really well in the first 43 minutes, if you like, when it was 0-0. They had a couple of sort of half chances, not too many, but Laxey will look at it, the good chances that they had that missed. And also, you've got to give credit to Marown's goalkeeper, Harry Barton. He did really well with some of them, but just before half time, it's always a cruel time to concede a goal, but it was good work by Ben Ramsey in midfield and ball out to Aaron Bradley, and he just crossed it in, and it just fell nicely to Jack Keelan, who was busy throughout the afternoon. He looks as if he's going to be a really good player, and put it past the goalkeeper to make it 1-0. But then George Burrows, I think it was, who got the second one, start the second half to make it 2-0. And then on 78 minutes, they got the third when Will Cowan, who's been doing very well at Lincoln and over on the island this weekend, and he finished off with his left foot to make it 3-0. And then they could relax a little bit more, Laxey. But again, it was the story of the first half for Laxey. They couldn't take the chances. They had so many chances. And then when Tom Richmond came on the second half, I thought this might just open up a little bit. And he got the goal just outside the penalty area. And he struck it well on the 80th minute. And 3-1 it was. You look at Mikey Callister, he had 2 good chances, free kick one. Did he hit the bar or did Harvey Turner touch it? I'm not too sure. But the important thing for Laxey is it's a win. It's 3 points. And the important thing for Marown is they should take a lot from that game, Rob. They looked really good. They tried hard. You're coming across one of the better sides in the Premier League, and you've sort of put them under pressure. And I would carry that into the next game and see if they can get some points and get themselves out of the trouble at the bottom of the table, because it doesn't look well, does it? Played 8, no points. It's, and not scoring too many goals. But when you look at Onken and St George's around them, and even put Russian in that, it's not panic stations.
Long way to go in the season yet, so
Definitely.
A lot of things can particularly change. And speaking of sides currently towards the bottom of the standings at the moment, like we say, a long way in the season to go. And Ramsey away at St John's United, and Sam Brown's team have picked up a good couple of points in the last few weeks, despite that points deduction they actually had a couple of weeks ago as well. Interesting game here at Mullin Chloe today. It finished St John's United 3, Ramsey 2. Yeah,
and Luke Murray, great to see him back. He's just playing club football because it's not as high pressured as FC Isle of Man, but he scored 2 goals today and was really good. Well done there, Luke. Dean Lease got one as well, but Graham Kennish got both goals for Ramsey. So, again, Ramsey struggling a little bit, aren't they? And I don't think Ramsey will get involved in the relegation battle, but today, real close battle with a good side in St John's and just losing out 3-2.
Indeed, and the other game was a big one, really, with implications toward the top in the Canada Life Men's Premier League between Union Mills and Peel. Peel, of course, challenging right toward the top as they have done for the last few seasons up against the Union Mills team. One of those teams, along with the likes of Laxey and Corinthians, who are on the rest week this week, battling for those Railway Cup spots. Union Mills on home turf against Peel. Peel coming out on top here, an 8-goal thriller, but only just 5 goals to 3.
Only just, Rob, because there's a bit of a story to that as well, because Peel were 3-0 up. I don't know what or how Thomas Brown scored the 4 goals, but certainly he played a massive part in that victory for them, because Peel leading 3-0 and then it got back to 4-3. So well done to Union Mills getting into that one. Jack Murray with 2 of the goals. Lewis Hicks got the other one, and it was Oscar Bignell. Like the look of him when he played against Corinthians last week. He looks a really good player, and with Thomas Brown there as well, creating chances, and you've got someone to play off as well. But Thomas Brown is on fire, and what a tussle that's going to be for the Golden Boot at the moment between Sean Kelly and Thomas Brown.
Just quickly before we move on to Ardern Drug Unlimited Division 2, just a quick look at the table. as it stands at the moment. So Ayr United, top of the standing, still unbeaten now, 7 wins and 1 draw for them. That 4-4 draw they had against Peel a few weeks ago. So Ayr United still top of the pile under 22 points. Peel behind them, also having played 8 games on 19. And then there's 2 teams on 18 points in behind them, Corinthians and Laxey. Corinthians ahead on goal difference, having played a game less on 8, Laxey on 9. And Foxtel not out of the equation here, Tony, as well, in 5th on 15 points.
I think their tally's not being put on today, Rob.
Just taking a look on the Isle of Man FA, just looking at the database here. But so maybe some of the numbers have got to be fixed. So Tony, you've been doing the maths in front of us. Tell you what, you clarify for us where we're at.
I'll clarify.
Make sure we've got the right details.
Right, we've got Ayr United do a top 22. We've got Peel, who have got 19. 3 clubs on 18. That's Corinthians, who didn't play today. Yes, Foxdale were on 15 at lunchtime, but they've got 18 now because they've won today. And you've got Laxey, who got 3 points as well, so they're on 18. 3 clubs are on 12, and that's Union Mills, St Mary's and St John's. 1 on 10, and that is Ramsey. And then you've got 7 points for Russian, 6 for St George's, 4 for Onken, and rooted at the bottom, unfortunately. Played 8, not won anything. No points for Moran.
Big old battle for those Railway Cup spots incoming, it seems, at the moment. From a neutral perspective, you might hope it remains that way. Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 then. The interesting thing about this particular league going into this weekend is that 3 of the top 4 sides, Braddon, the leaders going into this weekend, Douglas High School Old Boys in 2nd, and Michael United in 4th, all on a rest week this week. That meant that Colby in 3rd had the chance to go top today, and we'll start with them, Tony. They were up against Governors Athletic at Station Fields, and Colby taking full advantage, and in some style as well. They've beaten Governors Athletic by 10 goals to 3.
Yeah, and I heard driving in there, Rob, it was a tight game at one stage, wasn't it? Because I think it was Colby only had a couple of goals, but Carl Hickey flying today, he got a hat-trick. Dave Caldwell got 2. Stevie Collister, who can actually play in goal as well. He played in goal for St Mary's a year ago, and at the moment scoring outside with 2 goals. Paul Whitley got the other one. Haven't got Governors Athletics goal scorers, but super win for Colby.
Indeed it is, and the other big game in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 today, on paper at least, is Southern Derby. Always a great spectacle down south these, and it was between Castletown and Maloo. We say a great spectacle. It has been a great spectacle today for one of the sides, but a day to forget for the other. Bragging rights for Castletown on home soil today. They've beaten Maloo commandingly, 12 goals to 1, Tony. Yeah, and a few red cards in this one as well, Rob, because Nathan Cardy, he got 5, Lucas Simmons got 4, Ali Roman got 1, Ollie Lee and Ollie Shearer got 1, and Kieran Krippner got the goal for Maloo. Now the story of the game, and thanks to Dean Turton for the little report here. Game finished with Town having 10 men on the pitch as Cardy was shown a straight red. Thirlwell, that's Daniel Thirlwell, sent off for 2 yellows in 2 minutes in the first half, and Aaron Richardson sent off for throwing a slap or a melee after a missed penalty. But Descent killed Maloo, and ruthlessly clinical Town finished well and made them pay. So what a great result that is for Castletown. They're climbing back up the table, but Maloo, a day to forget. Yeah, it is indeed. Maloo, a team that has been scoring quite freely at times throughout the season so far. So it is one of those games, maybe from a Maloo perspective, just chalk it up to one of those off days and move on. Yeah, I think they have to, but I think, when I looked at the team sheet last week, and Dean Kinley's back in the team, so that'll help things. You've got Kieran Krippner, who's a really good player, and right the way through, it's looking strong for them. But I think Castletown had a really strong team out today, and that's what's helped. And when you've got Nathan Cardy scoring 5 goals, brilliant, but now they're going to miss him. Straight red, it depends what it's for. He's going to have a suspension now. Indeed. Well, the last we heard as well between Ramsey Youth Centre and All Boys and Douglas Royal is that it was all square at 2-2, Tony. Yeah, and I think it was 2-2 finish. I've just got a score coming in. It was Royal, Ramsey Youth Centre 2-2, but I don't know if it's combi. But I've got down Kieran Lane with 2 of the goals for Douglas Royal, and if that is the case, then that's a cracking result for Douglas Royal. And the other result in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 today, Douglas and District 2, Pulrose United 4. Douglas and District, tough start to the season for them in Division 2 at the moment, but Pulrose United, another good set of points on the board. Yeah, it is, and again, new players coming through, and thanks to Dave Matheson, who's just texted us through the goal scorers there for D&D. Ash Humphrey, I think it was, with one of the goals, but for Pulrose United, it's Kieran Smith with 2, and Carl Holden got a couple of goals as well. 2-0 up at half-time they were. Okay, so taking a look into the combination leagues then. Canada Life Combination 1, St George's versus Foxdale. Now, it was confirmed last night this game had been awarded as an away walkover to Foxdale. St George's sadly unable to field a combination team this weekend. And we did actually hear on Friday Sport Preview last night from Johnny Myers from St George's as well, who shed a bit of light on the recruitment situation, among other things, at St George's this season. If you want to take a listen to some of his views on the situation, Friday Sport Preview is available as a podcast on the Manx Radio Sports Hub at manxradio.com and in the podcast section as well. Tony, United versus Russian United, that is a result we were waiting on in Combination 1 in the last few minutes.
Yeah, it was, and we still haven't got that one through, so if anyone can, please, 166 177.
Yes, hopefully, please do send those details through if you've got them of United versus Russian United in the combination leagues. A close one, Onken leading Canada Life Combination 1 in this weekend up against the St Mary's side, who, Tony, I think you mentioned on Friday Sport Preview yesterday, have the potential to be mixing it with the teams toward the top, the likes of Ramsey and Russian United as well. St Mary's beaten by Onken today, but only just Onken beating St Mary's by 2-1.
Yeah, they're going well, aren't they? I haven't got St Mary's goal scorer, but for Onken...
Chris Dowling for St Mary's.
Chris Dowling, is a regular, and that's Billy Coulter got one. Had to hold his nerve, got it from the penalty spot, and George Ref Butler got the other one, so another 3 points for Onken.
Then there were two results we were waiting on again in Canada Life Combination 1, Laxey versus Moran and Ramsey versus St John's United. To
be fair, I think I've got Ramsey's that's just come through. If you can wait 2 seconds, and there was Ramsey 2, St John's 2. Half-time was 1-0 to Ramsey. Ramsey scorers was Ferret Ergun and Chattel. I'm sorry, I haven't got your Christian name. So it was 2-2 Ramsey against St John's. I haven't got Laxey and Moran.
Oh, no, excellent. So, if anyone does have those details of Laxey versus Moran in the Canada Life Combination 1, please do text them through 166 177 or send it via WhatsApp as well. And we did get the details through just at the start of the show, in fact, actually, for the other game. Canada Life Combination 1, Peel 7, Union Mills 1. Yeah, and what a great result that is, and you can see why when you see some of the players playing in this one. Scott Horn didn't play for the first team last week. I think it was away. He got 2 goals. Sean Brown got 2. That's Thomas's brother. And it was Joe Crookall, Toby Liddle and George Taylor, who was substitute for the first team last week and given the combination full 90 minutes today. And George, if you're listening, make sure that your dad gives you some extra pocket money because that goal deserves it. And George took one away from the penalty spot. Dylan Campbell, it was who got the goal for Union Mills. And we've just had the information through as well from that game in Canada Life Combination 1, Ayr United versus Russian United. Thank you very much for those details. It has finished Ayr United 1, Russian United 2. No details on the Russian United goal scorers, but Dave Corlett hitting the back of the net for Ayr United there. So, confirmation if you just missed that a moment ago. Ayr United 1, Russian United 2. Canada Life Combination 1. No Russian United goal scorers as of yet, but Dave Corlett on the score sheet for Ayr United in that one. Ardern and Dragon Limited Combination 2. We were still waiting for an update, Tony. Douglas High School Old Boys versus Douglas Athletic. Yeah, we've got it. It's Douglas High School Old Boys 1, Douglas Athletic 1, and Tyler Lattis Callister was the goal scorer for Old Boys. Haven't got Athletics goal scorer. And 8 goals between Governors Athletic and Colby in Ardern and Dragon Limited Combination 2. Governors Athletic 3, Colby 5. Yeah, I think Governors Athletic scorers are just coming through, but they were 3-0 up at one stage. But Colby, really good performance and got it back. Seb Spears with 3. Kieran Douglas got a goal and an own goal as well. And one of the results we were waiting on, Douglas Royal versus Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. Haven't got that one. Have you got anything? No. Not in front of me. So if you are listening out there, Douglas Royal versus Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys in Ardern and Dragon Limited Combination 2. If you have any details from that game, please do send them through. We'd love to give them a shout out on here and take a look at those. 166 177, either via text or WhatsApp. All square between Pulrose United and Douglas and District in Combination 2, 2-2. 1-1 at half-time, and David Harding got a goal for Pulrose. Tony Varley got the second one, and for Douglas and District, nice way to celebrate your birthday with a goal. Well done, Mark Quirk, and Daniel Kinley got the other one. So a good hard-fought battle, but point shared. And last but certainly not least in Ardern and Dragon Limited Combination 2, it finished at Jim's 2, Michael United 3. And the goal scorers for Michael was Joe Humphreys and Fletcher Neen, and both these players are teenagers and first senior goals today. So congratulations to both of them. And Nuno Marquez played really well, I believe, for Michael. Caused a few problems outfield, but couldn't get his name on the score sheet. Excellent. Well, those are your latest Isle of Man results so far. Like we've always said throughout this programme, if we have any score lines missing there that you may have heard or may have details on, please do text us or WhatsApp us 166 177. Well, we're going to turn our attention now to the NWCFL Premier Division, and FC Isle of Man were on the road once again today, looking to build off an impressive 2-1 victory over informed Padiham at the Bowl 7 days ago. They came up against a Longridge Town team this afternoon in Lancashire that had beaten them at the Bowl earlier in the season back in August. FC Isle of Man, they've turned around that original defeat to win today by 3-1 out in Lancashire. A brace for Luke Booth and a goal from Charlie Higgins, helping FC Isle of Man on their way to 3 points. And I'm delighted to say that we're now joined live over the phone by FC Isle of Man club captain Sean Doyle, who's down there in Lancashire as the team prepares to make its way back. Sean, very good afternoon. A great result for yourselves. How did that feel, that performance?
Hi, Rob. Yeah, you know what? Really, really good performance from start to finish from everyone that was involved. Probably one of the strongest first halves we've had all season. And then second half, it was a battle. They made 4 subs at half time, and it was kind of about just defending for our lives and making sure we stick to the plan. And I think that worked well today. So yeah, it's nice to be coming home with 3 points.
Now, we've seen it in the past with FC Isle of Man. I hope you don't mind me saying that sometimes when you've led by a scoreline like this, sometimes you've found it difficult to keep hold of, particularly away from home in previous seasons. You've changed that around today and done it on a few occasions now. Do you think that's something else that the team has in its locker now, that you're able to see out more of these type of results?
100%. I think that was one of the meshes that Gaz at half time when he came in. I think the key word was complacency. I think we are kind of susceptible to doing that sometimes. I think we can come in, go 2-0 up, sit back, defend, and not kind of do what we have been doing to get in the lead. So yeah, it was successful to do it for 90 minutes and stick to the plan. And I think we knew ourselves that the first half was dominant. So yeah, it was nice for the second half to defend for our lives at times, but also not get complacent, stick to what we're doing. Like I said a couple of times, and yeah, just nice to come away with the win, especially after them beating us at the Bowl 1-0 earlier in the season.
And speaking of that reverse fixture, it was a 1-0 defeat. Longridge Town played much of that game with 10 men. They had a player sent off. But given the fact that they had 11 on the pitch, did it turn it into a different game this time compared to the one you experienced at the Bowl?
Definitely. I think for anyone that was there at the Bowl earlier in the season, they kind of sat back and defended massively for the majority of the game, whereas their plan was very different this time round. They had a high line, and that's what we exploited in the first minute. And Charlie and Boothie, they worked the socks off whole of the first half, and they got the rewards and the goals that they scored. So nice for them boys to sort of put the hard yards in and get the goals and get the reward for the effort that they put in. So yeah, it was a very different game plans for Longridge against us, but we figured it out early doors, and yeah, thankfully it wasn't a repeat of the result in July, August time.
One thing we asked Paul Jones about going into this weekend, obviously the manager hasn't travelled with the team this weekend, has a few personal commitments this weekend, but one thing we asked him is that you're in and around those promotion playoff spots where you're hoping to be throughout the season, but you played a considerable amount of games more than some of the teams around you. But how important is it that you don't focus on things outside of it and just focus on just trying to get points on the board week after week?
That's the message that Paul keeps banging on about. It's just one game at a time, stick to what we're doing. And then we just worry about ourselves, don't worry about what everyone else around us is doing, because things change all the time. We see players and teams change constantly, and one will play like Longridge during the season and their team was completely different today. So we worry about other teams in the league, and then we're kind of getting derailed from what our plan is. So yeah, just keep sticking to the plan, keep doing what we're doing, and it's working well right now. Obviously with a few hiccups in between, but it kind of shows how strong the league is. Everyone's beating each other, and we just have to focus on what we're doing and then see where we're at come March, April time.
And finally, a two-pronged question, really. This is the first week for a while, really, that you haven't had a midweek game to deal with. First of all, how beneficial has that been for you as players, maybe to have that bit of extra rest and recuperation round training? And then going into next week as well, you've got another 7 days until your next game. Is that beneficial considering how intense the schedule has been at times in the first few months?
Oh, it's been absolutely brutal at times, and I think it's not even just in terms of what it's like on the body, but it's also the player availability for the midweeks. You see the squad's constantly changing due to work commitments, and then obviously you've had a few players picking up injuries. So trying to balance that, and it must be a complete headache for Paul and the management to constantly have their teams changing. But yeah, you know what? Fair play to the lads that have come in and took their chance, like Luke Booth, who's come in pre-season and he's bagging the goals now. Then you've got Charlie, who's been on the bench. He's come in, done his job properly. And it's nice to sort of see different names who maybe might not have started a lot of the games either last season or in pre-season, coming in, doing jobs and just doing exactly what's needed for the team. And we're seeing that with the results that we're picking up week after week.
Excellent. Well, Sean, thanks very much for your time. I know you've had a very busy Saturday already, so well done on the result to you and the team, and we wish you a safe journey home.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it, mate.
Sean Doyle there, the FC Isle of Man club captain after FC Isle of Man's 3-1 victory away at Longridge Town this afternoon in the NWCFL Premier Division. Very quickly, we're going to be looking at rugby in just the next few moments, but just quickly to get a final word on FC Isle of Man from Tony Mepham here. Well, Tony, FC Isle of Man, they took the lead early on, and as I asked Sean there as well about that side of things of taking a lead. Sometimes they've struggled to manage leads in previous seasons, but they've managed to do so today, and they seem to be doing it more regularly, as the statistics suggest in recent weeks. What's been the difference there? Do you think the players have maybe just got that little bit wiser around this level?
Probably a little bit wiser. You've got new players coming in the squad as well, but when you look at certainly today, you've had Adam Adebayo back in the squad, which helps, Dean Pinnington, which helps, and suddenly there's a bit of pressure on everyone up front. You know, when you look at Tom Creer, you also look at Charlie Higgins, Sean Doyle, Steve Whitley. Luke Booth at the moment's the man of the moment, isn't he? Because he's scoring goals for fun. He scored an absolute belter last week. Haven't seen the goals yet for today's, but I just think right round it's good competition for places. There's a little bit of pressure for everyone to deal with. Midfield is the same as well. You know, you can't sort of have a poor game. You've got to put the training session in a little bit harder, and you know it happens. Form can dip in, and it can come back to you very, very quickly as well. But it's a cracking result. Keeps the pressure on everybody else around them, keeps the pressure on the team, and with another away game next week before they come back home, it's all looking good for them.
Could be a big one next week as well, because they're on their travels again next Saturday, and they're away at Chadderton, one of the current promotion hopefuls, pushing right toward the top, up against the likes of Ramsbottom United and Bury and Lower Breck as well, who've been having a great season so far. So a good litmus test maybe for FC Isle of Man on how much they've learnt and developed so far this season against the Chadderton team that they drew against in their first home game of the season a couple of months ago.
Well, it is, and you've got to look at, as you've just said there, when you look at Ramsbottom, you also look at Bury. They've done ever so well against those top teams, and you didn't expect that. They beat Ramsbottom away, so that's, you know, absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I think it's going so well for them at the moment. They've just got to keep it going, but now the sort of bad weather starting to come in, whether that'll affect, because if you've noticed, Rob, we've got a 3G pitch over here, so it's always going to happen as long as the flights can get in, because that'll take over in November. But it's when the pitches seem to sort of deteriorate in the UK is when we have all them postponements, and then you just haven't got regular football going, and it can be so frustrating. But enjoy it while it's going, and hopefully it'll keep going. And, you know, just right the way around, the team's doing really well.
And on this side of things, Tony, just one word actually quickly on the weather as well. We seem to have dodged it a little bit today. It's been very pleasant across the Isle of Man today. We're expecting quite a bit of inclement weather tomorrow, I think it's fair to say, across the Isle of Man. There's a couple of weather warnings in place. But with the progress that's been made so far with the fixture schedule, just from an FA perspective, has it been quite positive for you, do you think?
It's been really good. I've got a bit of a blip coming on the 3rd of November, because it looks like the Ireland under-18s are going to go away, and that's probably going to affect 2 or 3 sides. One of them's involved in the Railway Cup. I could have done without that, but it is what it is. You've got to take the fixtures as they go. But I think it's a message out there, Rob. There's a lot of clubs spent a lot of money this year on their pitch improvements, and you know, I looked at one today. Evidently Marown's pitch was underwater last night with that rain that came down, and I have to say that Andy Kane, Matthew Kane, and whoever works on the pitch have done an absolutely cracking job, because the pitch was superb. I walked it, it held up together right the way through the 90 minutes. So, you know, the ground staff are out there. Enjoy a beer and give yourself a big pat on the back, because you've got your club probably playing today where maybe years ago it wouldn't have happened.
Tony Mepham, as always, thank you very much indeed.
Manx Radio Sport.
So a busy schedule of football across the board, both on and off Ireland today, as has been the case as the season got underway in the last couple of months. We're going to be turning our attention to rugby now, and the football schedule's been busy, so has the rugby schedule in the last couple of weeks. No fewer than 4 Isle of Man teams in action today. Douglas, they've been at Portishead up against Altrincham Kersal in the Regional 2 Northwest. Both Vagabonds teams have been off Ireland. Vagabonds men away at Fleetwood in Counties 3, ADM Lancashire Cheshire, and Vagabonds ladies, after winning their first home game of the season last weekend, away at Women's NC2 North South leaders Winnington Park. There was also a friendly which took place that saw Douglas Casuals and Southern Nomads facing each other ahead of that Douglas game in the Regional 2 Northwest of Portishead earlier. And to go through everything, as usual, is our rugby correspondent, Dave Christian. So, Dave, a busy day all round.
Yeah, pretty much, Rob, pretty much. I was at Portishead for Saturday Live. We watched Douglas against Altrincham Kersal. Altrincham Kersal potentially dark horses, or at least I thought so before the game. But as always, I love to be proved wrong, and I was indeed. Douglas's home form has been pretty good so far, and that continued today with a big win, 37-14, and a try bonus point as well. Bryn Snellgrove kicked an early penalty to steady the nerves. Sam McCord then scored about 20 minutes in. Snellgrove converted that one and added a second penalty on the half hour, which gave proper daylight between the sides with Douglas 13-0 ahead. Craig McGee crossed just before half-time. In almost inevitable fashion, Snellgrove converted, and at half-time, Douglas were 20-0 ahead and looking very comfortable. They hadn't really been tested in defence at all. Less than 2 minutes into the second half, Harry Hewson worked his magic at close quarters. He scored from close range. Snellgrove converted that one. Douglas further ahead. The Douglas kicking machine, Snellgrove added another penalty then, and that made it 30-0 with probably 25 minutes to play, and Douglas looking extremely comfortable. Altrincham Kersal then came to the party very, very late. It was the last 10 minutes. Number 8, Chris Roddy, went over for true tries. They were both converted by Patrick Roberts, which gave Douglas a little bit of a wobble in the closing stages until prop Simon Hodgenott sorted it all out. He crashed over at the end. That killed off the Kersal revival and secured the try bonus point. And it goes without saying that Snellgrove added the conversion. So Douglas very comfortable. It's a big one for them next week. Burnage are going to be their opponents, and Burnage are up there in the top 5. Mid-table in Regional 2 Northwest, there's a whole cluster of clubs between 13 points and 19 points. So a 6-point gap, and the 6-point gap would actually put Douglas up into the top 5. So, excuse me, despite their close the adverse results in the first few games, they're not too far away from the finished product, and they played very well this afternoon, so congratulations to everybody there at Portishead. For Vagabonds, not quite so positive. They're away at high-flying Fleetwood in Counties 3, ADM, Lancashire and Cheshire. Nathan Corkle, Mitch Gorse and Will Douglas all crossed for Fleetwood in the early stages of the match, and a Fraser Robertson conversion made that 17-0. Vaggers hit back with a try, but from that point onwards, the traffic turned one way. Nathan Corkle got his second, as did Will Douglas. Corkle then completed his hat-trick. Fraser Robertson went in for a try of his own and added a couple more conversions. And in the closing stages, replacement Keane McCann picked up a try, as did centre Chris Clapp. And with some Robertson conversions, that finished up with a 64-5 defeat. Vagabonds have a week off now. No game for them next week. But they will face Bury, who are currently... and we're waiting for the late result here this afternoon, but Bury are 4 from 4 so far with maximum points from each game. So it could be a tough one for Vagabonds in 2 weeks' time. But today, it's not gone so well for them at Fleetwood. The ladies, though, were very impressive at Winnington Park. Winnington were the unbeaten league leaders going into the game today in Women's NC2 North-South. But Vagabonds ladies put in an impressive shift away from home, despite losing 43-32. They scored 6 tries this afternoon, Malin Campbell and Bliss Murta with 2 each. And the other tries came from Rebs O'Neill and Sophie Henry. And Henry also brought her kicking boots this afternoon and added a conversion in the absence of Sammy McDonald. For Vaggers, they take a lot away from that performance, I think, away from home. Their next home game is on the 2nd of November. I think it's against Bury, and Bury are a little bit further down the table, so could see a big win for Vagabonds and some fireworks over the bonfire weekend. Finally, there was that friendly game. Got a few details from that. I just got to Portishead for the tail end of that. Southern Nomads completed their Cheshire Bowl preparations. They play Western Vikings next week in a Cheshire Bowl game. 42-14 the win was. Mikey Crane and Finn McGregor both scored 2 tries for Nomads. The others came from Mark Young and George Collister, and the Young-Collister combination also kicked 6 conversions between them. Young 5 and Collister 1.
And just very quickly, Dave, before we let you go, we'll start with just Douglas very quickly for a moment there. You predicted this game could be quite close, and the Altrincham Kersal, you did point out, maybe dark horses around this division for the fact that there are only 2 defeats are coming up against 2 of the big guns there. But for Douglas, not just for themselves, but maybe the rest of the division, is this a bit of a statement from them today?
I don't know. I think what will be more telling is the game against Burnage next week. Burnage are top 5, in fact top 4 this afternoon. Just waiting for a late result from them away at Crewe and Nantwich. I think the Burnage game will be more of an indicator as to Douglas's form. But at the moment, Douglas are in 8th place with 13 points from 6 matches. You're going to have to do a little bit better than that. Yes, they've got 5 bonus points. 2 losing bonus points, and as I continue to say, losing bonus points are a great indicator of form. It means you've lost 2 games, but you finished within a score of the opposition. So let's just see how it goes against Burnage. That'll be more of an indicator, I think. But today they were looking very good. The front 5 was good. The back line was working well. There was plenty of pace on the ball and plenty of enterprise in the team as well. So, fair play. That was a good performance, but let's wait and see how they go against the big boys.
And for Vagabonds men, it doesn't get any easier at the moment. Counties 3-8am Lancashire Cheshire. That's a 6th defeat from their opening 6 games up against a Fleetwood side who were in good form, admittedly, the hosts going into this weekend. What's missing maybe just a little bit at the moment for Francie Gomish's team?
I'm just looking at the stats now, Rob, and they've only scored 83 points in 6 matches. They've conceded 264 points in 6 matches, which is the leakiest defence in Counties 3 ADM. So I think they need to shore up that defence a little bit, stop conceding so many tries, and then they can start to build a little bit. But at the moment, the defence seems to be the problem, at least on paper. And, anybody can analyse stats and draw whatever conclusions they like. But, it's not going well at all. And 264 points conceded in 6 matches kind of tells the story. That's an average of about 40 points a game. And they need to be a little bit tighter than that if they're going to move forward.
And just finally for Vagabonds ladies, and I know you've touched on this already in your summary of the game today up against Winnington Park, the women's NC2 North-South leaders. A 43-32 defeat, but surely from Vagabonds ladies' perspective up against the current benchmark in that division, plenty of positives to take.
Yes, indeed. They've only played 3 matches so far. They are currently in 3rd place. There are some games tomorrow that might change that, but 3rd place, they're a point away from 2nd place Littleborough. Winnington Park are running away with it. They've got 19 points, so they're 10 points clear after just 4 matches. So Winnington Park look to be the benchmark, scoring 6 tries against them away from home. That's going to count for a bit. And Winnington Park do have to come to the Isle of Man yet as well. But we had Jack Kane in at the start of the season. He said top 3, looking possibly for promotion places. Well, after 3 matches, they are where he wants them to be. Yes, we could have done some better results, particularly that opening game against Lee. But the players are back now. They were missing a couple this afternoon. I know there's a little trip on. Sammy McDonald's out in Malta, I think. But those things will change. The players will come back. And as Jack was saying last night on Friday Sport Preview, he's having selection difficulties, which is a great position for a coach to be in. And he's got players who will fill in those gaps. So things are looking positive for them, but it is quite early stages yet.
Dave Christian, thank you very much as always.
Manx Radio Sport.
Just a quick travel update before we move on. If you were planning to head out on the steam packet service this evening, the 7:45pm Manxman service to Heysham, that has now been cancelled due to the forecast adverse weather, as has its return at 2:15am tomorrow, which was due to arrive in Douglas at 6am on Sunday morning. So if you are out there and waiting to hear about the ferry services this evening, the 7:45pm Manxman service to Heysham and its return at 2:15am tomorrow morning have now been cancelled. Just a reminder as well for those looking to travel on services, tomorrow all Manxman and Manannan services throughout Sunday the 20th of October and into the early hours of Monday the 21st of October are all subject to possible disruption or cancellation due to the forecast adverse weather expected from the arrival of Storm Ashley. So please do keep an eye out if you do have any travel plans, particularly by ferry. Keep an eye out for those updates from the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company. But tonight's sailing and its return at 2:15am tomorrow morning have been cancelled, and all of tomorrow's sailing subject to possible disruption or cancellation. The 8:45am Manxman service and its return at 2:15 on Sunday, and also the Manannan service out to Liverpool at 3 o'clock. And its return at 7:15 and the Manxman service at 8pm tomorrow night as well. Those services in the morning, this final decision will be made by 7am tomorrow morning, so please do keep an eye out for those particular updates. Well, turning our attention now to hockey, another busy day in the league competitions and some significant results once again across the respective senior and junior leagues, and he's been waiting patiently as always, scribbling away with his notes and doing some mental mathematics to figure out how the tables could be looking going into next week. Ben Cunningham, very good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, I don't think I want to be on that boat tonight, put it that way.
Starting to cloud over just a little bit. We've been quite lucky with the weather today,
definitely.
haven't we? We've been quite lucky. So, maybe batten down the hatches a little bit. And like I say, if you are listening out there and you do have any travel plans around the island or off the island tomorrow, please do just keep an eye out for those potential updates with that inclement weather due to close in tomorrow, with those 2 weather warnings as well throughout tomorrow. Let's turn our attention to hockey then, and we're turning to the Mixed Premier League first. 4 games today, 3 of those pushing back at 12:35. One of those was the game of the NSC that you covered today for Saturday Live with Paul Moran. Harlequins A versus Vikings B. Cracking game it seems here, Ben, but Harlequins A coming out on top by 6-3.
Yeah, and Vikings B were 2-0 up, and then in a matter of 10 minutes, Harlequins in the first half just turned the game around and went into half-time 3-2 up. And then in the second half, just Harlequins come out really wanting the game, and they took it by the scruff of the neck. Ronan Santantonio with a hat-trick, Rachel Middleton with 1, Cameron Room with 1, and Hannah Nuttall with 1 for Harlequins. And then for Vikings, it was Alex Andrews, Katie Ericks, and Josh Dougal.
And then at QE2 at the same time was a huge game at the bottom of the table. The bottom 2 sides, Backers B and Valkyries B meeting. Neither of them had points on the board going into today, only separated by goal difference at the bottom. And it is a big result for Backers B, taking 2 points today, their first points of the season up against Valkyries B, beating them by 3-0. How big could this be for both these teams in the battle against relegation for the rest of the season?
This could be massive, because Valkyries B now know that they've got to go out there and get results now, otherwise it is going to be relegation. For Backers B though, they know they've got that lifeline, they've got that win over Valkyries B, who potentially are going to be their nearest contenders. For Backers B though, it was Craig Leese, Doug Quayle and Chris Bass, all with goals each.
And the other 12:35 pushback in the Mixed Premier League was at Castle Rushen High School. That saw Castletown Celts up against the current league leaders, Backers A. And Backers A, they'll have been wanting to take maximum points yet again. 100% record going into this weekend at the top of the standings, given the fixture that was taking place elsewhere, the other of the Mixed Premier League games, which we'll get to. Backers A getting the job done away at Castletown Celts, who've upset some of the big guns in this league in the past. Backers A winning by 5-0.
Yeah, and Backers A really just showing their class, really. Isabella Craig with 1, Jamie Brown with 1, Callum Robb with 2, and Andy Whiting with 1. But a great result, because the next result we're going to talk about is helped Backers big time.
Just very quickly before we move on, we just had another update with regards to the ferry services on the Isle of Man. We did mention just a few moments ago it had been announced the 7:45pm Manxman service to Heysham tonight has been cancelled, as has its return at 2:15am tomorrow morning back to Douglas. Well, we've just seen an update from the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company online that does say that tomorrow's 8:45am Manxman service to Heysham has now been cancelled, as has its return at 2:15pm tomorrow from Heysham. So if you've missed that update, as well as Tonight, Manxman sailing at 7:45 to Heysham being cancelled, and its return at 2:15am tomorrow morning. Also now showing as cancelled are the 8:45am Manxman service to Heysham tomorrow, Sunday the 20th of October, and its return at 2:15 in the afternoon on Sunday. The 3pm Manannan service to Liverpool tomorrow, and its return at 7:15. A final decision on those two sailings will be made by 1pm tomorrow afternoon. They are still subject to possible disruption or cancellation because of the forecast adverse weather caused by the arrival of Storm Ashley. And the final game then, turning back to hockey, mixed Premier League between second and third, Valkyrie and Vikings A. Vikings A slipping up for the first time this season last week against Bacchus A at the top, up against the Valkyrie A side looking to maintain their perfect record like Bacchus A. But for the Westerners, their 100% record has fallen. Vikings A, maybe, just maybe, Ben, back in the mix toward the top of the table here. They've beaten Valkyrie by 2-1 at QE2.
Yeah, big result there for Vikings A. After last week's defeat to Bacchus A, they want to make amends of it, and they have done by defeating Valkyries A there today. For Valkyries A, it was Ollie Webster, and then for Vikings A, it was Will Bryson and Tom Burrows.
So just in terms of the mixed Premier League table, where does that leave us points-wise just at the moment?
So, if my maths is correct, Bacchus A are top with 12 points. Then it's going to be Vikings A second on goal difference with 10 points, with Valkyries third, Castletown Celts fourth with 6 points. Then Harlequins now leapfrog Vikings B on goal difference on 4 points, Vikings B in 6th, Bacchus B in 7th, and Valkyries B in 8th with no points.
Moving on to Mixed Division 1 then, and the early pushback at 11:05 at QE2 saw the leaders Bacchus C up against Valkyries C, and Bacchus C, a bit of a rarity at the start of the season, dropping points here. Valkyries C, a great result for them. 3 apiece it finished.
Yeah, great game by the sounds of it, and when we say the rest of the results and we look at the league table, this league now is very much wide open now. For Bacchus C, it was Jack Grimble, Alex Stewart and Sean Ledridge, and then for Valkyries it was Rob Cannon and Chris Thomas with 2.
And like Ben's just referenced there, we'll mention now, going through the other results, why everything is so closely contested. Ramsey A, who of course relegated last season, had a bit of a slow start by their standards, but a commanding win today, which has seen them, I suppose, propelled potentially back into possible contention for promotion from this division towards the top. Ramsey A beating Vikings D by 8-1 at Ramsey Grammar School.
Yeah, Nat Smith with 4 goals, Victoria Garner with 2, Ed Fields with 1, and Dan Hurd with 1 for Ramsey A. And then the consolation for Vikings D was Bruce Gimbert.
And along with the likes of Bacchus C and Ramsey A there, Castletown Southerners in the mix toward the top. They've got the job done just about at the NSC today up against Viking C. It finished Viking C 1, Castletown Southerners 2.
Yeah, Josh Wilkins with Viking C's goal, and then for Castletown Southerners it was Andrew Winstanley and Robbie Volga.
So just very quickly then, how does that mean that the Mixed Division 1 table looks, particularly at the top at the moment, like you say, it's just been opened up a little bit more?
Yeah, so with Bacchus C being held today, that's put them on 8 points, with now Castletown Southerners behind, only 1 point behind on 7. Ramsey A are then 2 points behind Bacchus C on 6. Then you've got Valkyries C with 5 points, and then Vikings C and Vikings D both level on 2 points.
Okay, Mixed Division 2, 3 games there. The early pushback at 11:05 at Castle Rushen was between Bacchus Colts and Castletown Cushags. On the scoreline, at the very least, quite one-sided. Bacchus Colts 8, Castletown Cushags 0.
Yeah, George McNear with 3, Sharon Pope with 2, Mackenzie Coach with 2, and Sophie Partings with 1.
And then elsewhere at King William's College at 12:35 saw Castletown Camags meeting Ramsey Ravens. Good result for Camags here, beating Ravens by 7-2.
Yeah, and a big thanks to Jules. She was keeping me posted on this game while I was at the NSC, and she's done the report for me, and she's just put a well-managed game by both sides in fantastic weather conditions. It could have quite easily been double figures for Castletown, having Ramsey's goalkeeper not made some fantastic saves today. Elliot Butler with 3, Fern Bagazzi with 2, and Alistair Ledgers with 2. And then for Ramsey Ravens, it was Hannah Wild and Chris Wells.
And the late pushback at 3:35 of the NSC in Mixed Division 2 saw Harlequins B up against Valkyries D. Good result for Harlequins B, 6-0 winners.
Yeah, they keep their form up at the top of the league. That's now them with 10 points at the top of the league. Tom Herb with 3, Corey Corkill with 1, Caleb Blakemore with 1, and Ethan Skillicorn with 1.
And there were 3 games, of course, in Mixed Division 3 as well. The early pushback, 11:05 at the NSC. Harlequins C 1, Backers D 3.
Yeah, good result there for Backers D. That puts them third now on 6 points. It was Dave Neals with 2 and Richie Weir with 1. And then Harlequins consolation was by myself.
Ken Bunningham, you mean?
Well, whatever my name is this weekend.
Elsewhere, 2:05 at Ramsey Grammar School saw Backers Mixed Bucks meet Ramsey Rookies. Same scoreline there, but Backers Mixed Bucks 1, Ramsey Rookies 3.
Yeah, Ashley Scaruccia for Backers Mixed Bucks, and then for Ramsey Rookies, it was Jess Musgrave with 2 and Paul Hunter.
And finally, in Mixed Division 3 was 2:05 at Castle Rushen High School. It's ended all square between Castletown Carrick and Vikings E, 1-1.
Yeah, Paul Harris for Carrick, and for Vikings E, it was Ollie and Andu.
Last but certainly not least, that's the senior divisions. We had 3 games again in the Mixed Under-15s League, a tightly contested league once again this season. All of these were 3:35 pushbacks. So first off, Valkyries in the Mixed Under-15s League beat Harlequins 6-3.
Yeah, good result there for Valkyries. It sounds a real cracker game there, 9 goals. It sounds really good. Harlequins, it was Ollie Barber with 2 and Lucas Room with 1. And then for Valkyries, it was Harry Lewis with 2, Amber Buchanan, Ryan Thomas, Ria Mayer, and Caleb Quayle, all goals each.
And then at Ramsey Grammar School, Backers versus Ramsey. We did have that information through. Thank you very much for texting that in a few minutes ago. Backers beating Ramsey by 2-1.
Yeah, Ryan Cartwright and Jasper Wales for Backers, and then for Ramsey, it was Toby Bashford.
And to round things off nicely today in the Mixed Under-15s League, Vikings against Castletown Sharks at Castle Rushen. It was the Castletown side that took the spoils today, beating Vikings 4-0.
Yeah, the Sharks come out on top today. Ian Cummin with 1, Chris Crompton-Harvey with 2, and Scarlett Crompton-Harvey with 1.
Well, that's what's been happening today. Now, as it stands at the moment, Ben, we do have possibly a couple of the Isle of Man's junior sides in action tomorrow, or at least scheduled to be.
We did. Unfortunately, we don't now. Unfortunately, they were due to travel on the Manxman tomorrow morning. However, the steam packet, like you say, have just cancelled that sailing. So the Island junior teams that were due to travel across this weekend sadly now won't be going tomorrow. So that was going to be our under-16s girls, and it was going to be the under-16 girls. They're not going to be travelling tomorrow. That game's going to get rescheduled, and we will bring you all the information for that. However, the other island teams, the under-14 boys in the first round got a bye. The under-14 girls got a walkover from Preston. The under-16 girls obviously were due to travel tomorrow. The under-16s girls B team is... Oh, sorry, that's the under-16 girls. Under-16 boys, they were due to travel as well. They're not obviously going tomorrow. Under-18 girls received a walkover from Preston. And then the under-18 boys, who are due to play on the 26th of October, they're playing Preston's under-18 boys.
And like you mentioned about the under-18 boys due to play next weekend on the 26th of October, 2:30 p.m. against the Preston under-18s. But for those two teams, like you mentioned, the under-16 girls and under-16 boys who won't be able to make it over this weekend just because of the travel disruption due to the weather, beyond anyone's control, of course, that will be rearranged in due course.
Yeah, and we'll let you know next week.
Excellent. Well, Ben, thank you very much for joining us once again. Thanks to Tony and Dave, our football and rugby correspondents as well. And most importantly, thank you for joining in here and listening in on Manx Radio AM 1368 to Saturday Sport Classified into Manx Radio full-time earlier. Don't forget as well, if you've missed out on any of the analysis and reaction and you'd like to hear a little bit more from the show today, this will be available shortly after the end of the programme as a podcast on the podcast section over at manxradio.com. And of course, don't forget as well, if you want to catch up with any of the latest sporting news for the Isle of Man today, yesterday, or at any time before throughout this year, head on over to the Manx Radio Sports Hub at manxradio.com for all the latest news that's been taking place across football, rugby, hockey, motorsports, cycling, and much more. Anyhow, that means we will now be handing back over to Manx Radio Gold. Thank you very much and have a lovely evening.
Manx Radio Sport.